Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priyadana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora Gopi Priyadana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora Ravana Thakura Makana Tattara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Ravana Thakura Makana Tattara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Brajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapalo Chittahari Vamsi Jari Brajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapalo Chittahari Vamsi Jari Yogendra Vandana Srinandana Rajajana Bhayahari Yogendra Vandana Srinandana Rajajana Bhayahari Navina Niradha Rupa Manohara Mohana Bhamti Bihari Navina Niradha Rupa Manohara Mohana Bhamti Bihari Yashoda Nandana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunjalata Vilasi Yashoda Nandana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunjalata Vilasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavipina Nivasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavipina Nivasi Ananda Vardana Premani Ketana Kulasharayo Jakakana 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 Gopangana Ganga Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhama Gopangana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhama Yamuna Jivana Kili Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora 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 Namah Shudaras Ko Krishna Yash Rako Vachanamannamora Namashudaras Ko Krishna Yash Rako Vachanamannamora Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharidhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Sarasatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudhirayat
Tato Jayamudhirayat
Nasta Praeshu Vabhadreshu
Ashtapraeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
We're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapter number 31. Narada instructs the Prachetas. Text number 15. Yataiva Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Bhutani bhumo stira changamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva surya prabhavanti vara.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Yataiva suryat prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva surya prabhavanti vara.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Yataiva surya prabhavanti vara.
Yataiva surya prabhavanti vara.
Punascha tasmin pravisanti kale.
Punascha tasmin pravishanti kale.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Bhutani bhumo stira jangamani.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Tatahara veva guna pravaha.
Yata
Yata
as
as
eva
eva
certainly.
certainly.
Suryat
Surya
from the sun.
from the sun.
Prabhavanti
Prabhavanti
is generated.
is generated.
Vara
Vara
water.
water.
Puna
Puna
again.
again.
Cha
Cha
and
and
tasmin
tasmin
unto it.
unto it.
Pravishanti
Pravishanti
enters.
enters.
Kale
Kale
in due course of time.
in due course of time.
Bhutani
Bhutani
all living entities.
all living entities.
Bhumo
Bhumo
to the earth.
to the earth.
Stira,
Stira,
not moving.
not moving.
Jangamani,
Jangamani,
unmoving.
unmoving.
Tata,
Tata,
similarly.
Similarly,
Haro,
Haro,
unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Eva,
Eva,
certainly.
certainly.
Guna Pravaha,
Gunaprabha,
emanation of material nature.
emanation of material nature.
Translation. During the rainy season, water is generated from the sun, and in due course of time, during the summer season, the very same water is again absorbed by the sun. Similarly, all living entities, moving and inert, are generated from the earth, and again, after some time, they all return to the earth as dust. Similarly, everything emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in due course of time, everything enters into Him again. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Because of their poor fund of knowledge, impersonalist philosophers cannot understand how everything comes out from the Supreme Person and then merges into Him again. As Brahma Samhita confirms, Yashya Prabha Prabhavasanti Jagat Tata Yata Prabha, what is this? Yata Prabha Prabhavanti Jagat Koti Kotishvasesha Vasudati Vibhuti Bhinnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindam Adipursam Tamaham Pajami. Transcendental rays emanate from the body of Krishna, and within those rays, which are the Brahman effulgence, everything is existing. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Matstani sarva bhutani. Although Krishna is not personally present everywhere, His energy is the cause of all creation. The entire cosmic manifestation is nothing but a display of Krishna's energies. The two examples given in this verse are very vivid. During the rainy season, the rain, by rejuvenating the production of vegetables on earth, enables man and animals to obtain living energy. When there is no rain, food is scarce, and man and animal simply die. All vegetables, as well as moving living entities, are originally products of the earth. They come from the earth, and again they merge into the earth. Similarly, the total material energy is generated from the body of Krishna, and at such a time, the entire cosmic manifestation is visible. When Krishna winds up his energy, everything vanishes. This is explained in a different way in the Brahma Samhita. Yashai kanishvasi kalamatavalambhya jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanata vishnor mahansa iha yashya kalavishesho govindamadi pursam tamaham bhajamin. This entire material creation comes from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of annihilation again enters into Him. This process of creation and dissolution is made possible by the breathing of the Mahavishnu, who is only a plenary portion of Krishna. Om Jnanatimmarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Nitamscha. Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narada Muni is giving instruction to the Prachetas to help them get freed of their material entanglement. So Narada Muni has been giving nice examples, and here today also 2 more examples are given. One is the example of the water during the rainy season, how it is generated from the sun, and then during the summer season the same water is again absorbed by the sun. That's one example, the water. And then the second example is the living entities, both moving and not moving. They're generated from the earth and again come back to the earth, coming back to the earth as dust. So these 2 examples are given to compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how everything comes from Him, and at the time of annihilation, everything enters into Him again. In other words, the Lord is the cause of everything. Everything is coming from Him, and everything goes back to Him at the end. The 2 examples are instructive for us to understand how the Supreme Lord is maintaining this whole cosmic manifestation. Who else could maintain it? The work of maintenance is done by Vishnu. Only Vishnu can do these things. Brahma can create the mode of, with the influence of the mode of passion. He can create. And Lord Shiva can destroy under the influence of Tamagun. But the work of maintenance is given to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is situated in the mode of goodness, and he can arrange for everything to take place. Everything comes from him. Prabhupada quotes 9.4. Sarva Matstani Sarva Bhutani. Matstani Sarva Yaidam. How does it begin? Yaidam. Everything. Lord Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita that everything rests in me, but at the same time it's not. I am not in everything. They said, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire manifestation is maintained, created. By me in my, no, is it 9:4? Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina, right? By me in my avyakta, unmanifested form, this entire manifestation is created. Everything is in me, but I am not in everything. Lord Krishna is explaining like this. It's a bewildering verse to read in the Bhagavad Gita. That everything is in me, but I am not in everything. How is it possible? It's possible only by the inconceivable potency of the personality of Godhead. By his inconceivable potency, his achintya shakti, that he has that potency. And that is why it's so difficult to understand him. Trying to understand the Lord, even Brahma becomes bewildered looking at the Lord. He sees Lord Krishna in the fields of Vrindavan, and he's sitting with his rice and yogurt in his hand, and he's sitting with all the cowherd boys, and Lord Brahma thinks, how could this be my Lord and Master? How could he be my supreme over everyone? It's inconceivable that the Lord could perform these pastimes and at the same time have so much power. So we have to understand that there is such a thing as inconceivable power. That it's very difficult for people to accept that there are inconceivable powers. But we see examples every day of inconceivable potency. The sun, when you see the sun, of course. But the sun has that inconceivable power, that every day producing so much heat and light. It's inconceivable. Where is a fire which could produce so much energy and never be exhausted? So the example of the sun is there, that it is giving so much energy. And where is that coming from? The light of the sun, that is coming from the Brahma Jyoti. It is the reflection from the Brahma Jyoti. And that Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence coming from the body of Lord Sri Krishna. Sarvam Kauf Idam Brahma. Shankaracharya gave great importance to that statement. He made that the whole basis of his Mayavada philosophy, that everything is Brahman. And Prabhupada explains here in the purport how everything is coming from the Brahman. And that Brahman, where is it coming from? It's coming from the effulgence of Lord Sri Krishna. We have to understand, how is it possible? It's inconceivable. Try to understand it with our limited mind and senses, never possible. Ata Sri Krishna Namade Nabhavegriyamendriyani Sevan Mukhihe Jivado Swayam Eva Spurati Yada. The Lord cannot be understood by the material senses, but he reveals himself when he is pleased by loving service. So we want to understand the Lord. It's possible by his grace that he can reveal himself. We cannot understand him by our own efforts, but if he wants to reveal himself to the devotee, then he can do that. And he does. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also states, to those who are constantly devoted to me and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they may come to me. We want to understand Krishna is only possible by his mercy, not by our own efforts. We're trying to pull ourselves up. It's very difficult. The whole process of Krishna consciousness is descending. It's coming down. The knowledge, the mercy is coming down. It's not to be pulling ourselves up. the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, the Jnanis, the yogis, they're all pulling themselves up, trying to come up to the level of transcendence and to understand the Absolute. And it's a great struggle for them, so much difficulty. Lord Krishna says in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the karshati, so much trouble. You just get so much trouble in their efforts. And they make advancement very slowly, with great difficulty. But if we take up devotional service and simply surrender to Krishna, then Krishna helps the devotee to come to him. Krishna pulls the devotee up. We see the example, there's a beautiful illustration in the Bhagavad Gita. The devotees in the ocean of the material existence, and Lord Vishnu is coming on the back of Garuda, and he's taking the hand of the devotee, picking him up out of the ocean of material existence. So like that, we want to understand the Lord. We have to depend on his mercy, that he can reveal himself to us. We cannot force ourselves onto the Lord. We have to get his mercy. By the mercy of the spiritual master, then we get the mercy of Krishna. So we have to also please the devotees. You want to get the mercy of Krishna, you have to first of all get the mercy of the devotee. And Prahlad Maharaj appreciates that also. We were studying Prahlad's prayers for the Nrsimha Chaturdasi, and Prahlad Maharaj recognizes how much he was dependent on the mercy of the devotee, how Narada Muni had given him that knowledge. He'd opened his eyes, he'd saved him from the falling into the well of material illusion. And Prahlad Maharaj describes how his senses were blinded by material desires, and he was slowly falling into a well. But the spiritual teacher Narada Muni came and saved him. And Prahlad says, how could I ever give up such a person who has been so kind to save me from that plight of falling into the well? So Prahlad Maharaj recognizes that he could only approach Lord Nrsimhadev because of the mercy of Narada Muni. We cannot simply go to the Lord directly, but we have to go through the spiritual teachers, through the parampara. The parampara shows us the path to approach the Lord. So here Narada Muni is describing this potency, this great potency of the personality of Godhead, how everything is coming from him, and at the end it all goes back into him. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartati iti madva bhajantimam buddha bhavas mamvita. I am the source of the material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this worship me with all their hearts. So we have to understand how everything comes from Lord Krishna. Because it comes from him, it's his property. It's meant for him. Similarly, our bodies, our physical bodies with senses, they're the property of the Supreme Lord. He is Rishikesh. He is the master of the senses, the proprietor of the senses. Our senses are meant for his service. They're not meant for our sense enjoyment, but they're meant for his service. We have to see everything in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, recognizing that it's all his property, and use it carefully in his service. Of course, how can we serve the Lord We don't know how to please the Lord. One Mayavadi said that to me, big Mayavadi, and I was in Tirupati, and this Mayavadi said, you people, you think you can serve the Lord? How can, you know, he is right actually, it's a very difficult thing, how to serve the personality of Godhead. That is why we have to get guidance from the spiritual authorities to show us how to approach the Lord, how to please Him. The pure devotee, they know Krishna and they know how to please Him. They can direct us what we need to do to please Him. It's very important for us to be under the guidance of the pure devotee. So Srila Prabhupada gave us so much instruction, what we needed to do, how we need to serve Krishna, what we have to do for Him. One time, one devotee, one lady, she was making a dress for Krishna, and she put a pocket on Krishna's shirt, and then she put sweet balls in his shirt. And Prabhupada said, what is this? He said to her, you cannot just do like that. He said, that is not our process for offering to Krishna. You don't just make up your own speculations about how you're going to give Krishna sweet balls. We offer the sweets on the plate, on the altar. You don't stick them in Krishna's pocket. You know, sometimes devotees, we have these wild imaginations how to do things. We have to be very careful to follow. Otherwise, in course of time, everything will be lost. And that is why Lord Krishna came to, again, re-establish the disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshyo vidu sakaleniha mahata yoga nashta prarantapa. Yoga nashta. The knowledge was lost in course of time. Because the knowledge was lost, Lord Krishna had to come again and re-establish the disciplic succession. So Prabhupada was so concerned that we follow very carefully. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami was very concerned about this. He wrote his book about kirtan standards, you know. He's very concerned about how kirtans are changing gradually over the course of time. Different innovations are coming into the kirtans. And so Jayadvaita Swami wrote a whole book on the whole subject. What should be the kirtan, how Prabhupada wanted the kirtan. Of course, it's Jayadvaita's thinking on it. It's not necessarily the absolute, that everybody has to do what he says, you know, but he's presenting his feelings on it, you know. He showed it to different devotees, and not everybody was so enthused by it, you know. Some people say, well, you know, and Prabhupada also sometimes would tolerate different things. Like one of the things which we do is we worship Prabhupada in front of the deities. You know, in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami mentions about, you know, we shouldn't worship people in front of the deities. But Prabhupada allowed it. Prabhupada allowed it because he saw the enthusiasm of the devotees. And even Harisori Prabhu asked him about it. And Prabhupada said, yeah, he said it's for the enthusiasm of the devotees, that they have that mood, so he didn't want to divert them. He let it go on. So sometimes like that, Prabhupada could tolerate these kind of things. And that's one way of understanding it, anyway. But anyway, different devotees have feelings about things. How to please Krishna, not an easy topic, you know. how can, we're so small and we're so finite and limited, how could we understand how to please the Absolute? Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says different things about how we can offer a leaf and a flower and a fruit and water to Him. And we can please Him with these offerings, but it's not the offering, it's the devotion which He wants. It's not just the fruit and the flowers. Flowers, we could do with more flowers here actually. We seem to lack flowers a little bit. Yeah. Usually we have garlands for the deities. And too difficult here to get flowers.
We buy them usually once a week and they're quite expensive. Also the quality is not so good. Because the ones we buy, they are full of chemicals. We don't have so many natural flowers here.
Yeah, that's a fact. The flowers today, one devotee came from America, he came to Mayapur and they gave him a garland. I said, oh, this is amazing. He said, these flowers have an aroma, they have a fragrance. He said, in the USA, the flowers have no smell. They don't have any smell. It's all, chemicals and everything. It's all polluted in the Kali Yuga. That's why Prabhupada wanted us to do all these things ourselves. He wanted us to grow our own food, even he told devotees, he said, in the future you may not be able to get paper. He said you should be able to make your own paper, so that when you want to print books, you can print books. So he was warning us, how Kali Yuga, as it progresses, everything deteriorates. We have to be ready for all of these things. So it's difficult to please Krishna with our limited resources, what we have to give to Krishna. But what Krishna really wants is our devotion, our love and devotion. That is the main thing. Right? It's not the offering, it's not all the fruits and all the flowers and everything, but it's the devotion which we have, that we want to worship Krishna. And the example is there, how the Brahmana he had nothing, and he was worshipping Krishna in his mind. He had heard in the lecture how you can worship Krishna in the mind. Even you don't have any paraphernalia, you don't have any means or resources, but you can worship Krishna in the mind. And so he began to worship Krishna in his mind. And every day he would meditate. In his mind he would meditate on worshipping the deity. And in his mind he'd go to the holy rivers and he'd take a big silver pot and collect the water from the rivers and bring it back to bathe the deities. Water from we call the holy rivers, we use mantras to call the holy rivers into our Akshman pot. Ganga cha Yamuna chaiva, like that. We're chanting the names of all the holy rivers, calling the rivers to come. So he was doing it in his mind. And he was every day meditating on collecting water, bathing the deities, and then dressing the deities and putting on things like garlands. And he was meditating on cooking for the deities also. He had nothing. He didn't have anything, He was meditating on cooking for the Lord. And he would do it every day. He would meditate on like this. And of course, you know the story. He was cooking sweet rice one day. And when you cook sweet rice, it shouldn't be hot, right? It should be cool. If it's too hot, burn the tongue. We used to make sweet rice. I remember when for some time I was staying in the Brooklyn Temple in New York. Not the one they have now, the one long time ago in a place called Henry Street. And we had a very big Sunday feast. every Sunday then in the 1970s, we had hundreds of people come for the Sunday program. And we would cook, we would begin cooking like on Thursday. We'd cook the sweet rice, put it in the fridge, you know, get it all nice. And Hari Kesh was there at one point. He was in charge of the kitchen at one point, even. Before he took sannyas, he had come there and he was there organizing the kitchen. And we'd cook a really big feast and hundreds of people would come. It was really big, you know. And hundreds of people mean American people, you know. There were no Indians in America at that time, 1970s, very less. So it was all Americans who were coming. They really liked the program, you know. The prasadam was just unbelievable. It was so opulent. But anyway, the Brahmana, he's cooking the sweet rice and he wanted to make sure it's not too hot, so he put his finger in it just because you're not supposed to taste it, right? Sometimes the Brijbasi people, you know, they're cooking and, you know, they'll taste it. But Brijbasi people, they're different. They have Raga Bhakti. They're on the platform of Raga Bhakti. You know, they don't have to follow rules and regulations, you know. We're not on that level. You can't imitate them. And so he didn't taste it. He put his finger in the rice and burned the finger. And Lord Vishnu was in Vaikuntha watching and he was laughing. And Lakshmi was with him and she said, "What are you laughing at?" And then he told her, and he brought the Brahmana back to Godhead. The Brahmana went back to Godhead because of his devotion. He'd been worshipping the Lord so nicely in his mind. One of the forms of the deity, different materials can be used for the deity. Here we have, the deities are made from wood, right? Neem wood, yeah.
At least
But, huh?
At least Gornita is neem wood.
Gornita will be neem wood. And Jagannatha is also wood form, made from wood, carved out of wood. So, but other materials can be used like stone and paint and jewels, but it can also be in the mind. The deity can also be in the mind. It's one of the authorized methods. They don't mention things like PVC, you know, synthetics, you know. Sometimes they make these little Gornitai dolls out of PVC, resin or something. That's not quite bona fide. It can be brass, can be metal, you know, or what is it called? Astadhatu, yeah, right. 8 metals mixed together. These are all authorized, but resin, no, that's not proper. But the mind, that is an authorized form of the Lord. You can worship the Lord, and you can please Him by that. But Lord Krishna also said there's other ways to please Him. He said, Nachatasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritama. He said, there's someone who is even more dear to me, the most dear to me, the one who is trying to distribute Krishna consciousness to others, telling people about Krishna. He is the most dear. And Lord Chaitanya, of course, had told the Brahmana from Kurma Desh that Yari Deki Tarikao Krishna Upadesh. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. So Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, person who is telling people about Krishna, he is the most dear. It's important for us to have that mood. Our Krishna consciousness movement is a preaching mission, you know. We don't just want to build big temples to sit comfortably in the temple. That is like the impersonalists or the Buddhists. The Buddhists, they make big temples and nothing happens. They don't do anything. They never do anything. But our mission is to go out and preach and to distribute this message of Krishna consciousness. And the more we distribute the message of Krishna, the more we get realization ourselves. If we don't distribute this knowledge, then it will just simply be lost. Just like when we teach Bhakti Shastri. Did you all do Bhakti Shastri? We had some people. I taught a class to people who were from Switzerland in the class one time. Anyway, Bhakti Shastri, very good. They learn slokas, right? You have to learn slokas. But after the exam, they forget them. After a few weeks after the course is over, what was that sloka? They forget. They learn everything once, and like when you study at college, you study for the exam, and after the exam you say, glad that's over, forget it, it's all forgotten. So people learn Bhakti Shastri like that. They learn the slokas and they forget them again very quickly. You have to use them regularly. And the knowledge of Krishna consciousness is like that. You have to use it. You have to be using it. Otherwise you'll forget it. Prabhupada gives the example that just like clay pot, if you'd gone to India before you were born, like 1970s or something, they had clay pots in India. They didn't have refrigerators. So everything was kept in clay. And clay would keep the water cool. You'd boil the water and put the water in the clay pot. And the clay pot would cool the water because clay is porous. And so some of the water would evaporate through the clay, and it would cause the water to be cool, and it would stay cool. Even though it'd be scorching hot outside, the temperature would be so hot, but the water in the clay pot would be cool. So we didn't need refrigerators, actually. You need these clay pots. Echo Village, the Gaudiya, Raghunath Maharaj's people, Echo Village, Govardhan, right? They very much want to do all that, to use clay and use, because it's so much better than what we use, the styrofoam and all these things which are really garbage and really pollute the environment. But if you have clay, it comes from the earth, they're made of earth, and can go back to the earth again, And so they were planning to develop that, to use clay. So anyway, the example is, if you have a clay pot and you put water in the clay pot, the water will be cool, but the water also evaporates. In other words, the water level will go down, and gradually, the water will just dry up. There'll be no water left in the pot. Even though you didn't drink it, the water just evaporates through the clay. So knowledge is like that as well. And our Krishna consciousness is like, if we don't use what we're learning about Krishna and what we've understood about Krishna, if we don't distribute it and share it with others, it will just dry up. We'll just forget everything. And so we have to be willing to go out there and meet the people and talk to them and share with them. Sometimes people have a lot of reading groups. Do you have reading groups here in Zurich? You have reading together? People read together. Reading is good, but more important than just reading is discussing and explaining. It's not just reading. It becomes a reading exercise, You read it. What did you read? Oh, I don't know. What was it about? What was the text saying? Oh, I don't know. They read it, but they didn't learn anything. So it's very important that when we read, we have to discuss, we have to explain it. not just simply read it. Otherwise, you don't get so much benefit. You get something, but you get more if you will discuss and explain with each other. It's important. We make groups. You have a lot of groups on the internet. So many groups are there. And they may be reading Bhagavad Gita and other books. It's important to discuss them and to explain what's being said. So here also, Narada Muni is talking to the Prachetas, and he's telling them to understand how the Lord is maintaining everything. Everything came from him, and at the end, everything goes back to him. And he has given two examples to illustrate this. He has given the example of the water. Water is coming from the sun in the beginning. The sun causes water to evaporate. It's taken up into the clouds. And the clouds come and pour the rain on Zurich. Right? And then the water goes back. When the sun comes out, then the water is evaporated again, goes back to the sun. So that was one example. And the other example was the living entities. All different living entities moving and inert. They're all coming from the earth. How do they come from the earth? Well, we know Sita came from the earth, right? Mother Sita came from the earth. Difficult to understand how, but certainly plants and vegetables and trees and so on, they're all growing from the earth. And how can we understand the human also comes from the earth? Anybody can tell me?
There's this verse how from food that Annat Bhavanti Bhutani, so a human being is made of food coming from the earth.
Anat Bhavati Bhutani, all living entities subsist on food grains. Yeah. Okay, so we have to eat grains to get life. And they even give the example that sometimes the soul falls down from the higher planets and it will enter into the corn or into the grain, and then the man eats the grain, and then the soul enters into his semen, and then he imparts that semen into the womb of his wife, produce a child. So, okay, that's one possible explanation. That because we need food grains, and in the purport Prabhupada is also mentioning that without food we'll die. You need food to eat, and the food comes from the earth. So we're dependent on the earth for life. So we come from the earth, and at the end we go back to the earth, right? In the Christian tradition, from dust thou art dust, and they throw the dirt on the coffin, you know, when they're burying the coffin from I can't remember what they say when they're burying the coffin, something about from
Dust thou art, dust thou shalt return,
something like that, yeah. Something about dust anyway. You throw the dirt on the coffin and bury the coffin, and that's it, you become dust. So we come from the earth and we go back to the earth. The body goes back to the earth, of course, not the soul, but the body, material body talking about. And so these two examples are given to illustrate that everything is coming from the Lord and everything goes back to the Lord. The whole cosmic manifestation comes from Him. Well, that is described. It's already been described earlier, second canto, third canto, process of creation, how the Lord creates everything. In detail, it's all described in Srimad Bhagavatam. How in the Bible they simply talk about the Lord created everything in 7 days and nights. They don't tell you how He did it, but in the Bhagavatam we find out how He did it. The primary creation is done by Vishnu. You have the different elements, the Mahabhutis, earth, water, fire, air, ether, how they are created. And due to the combination of the false ego and the glance of the Lord, and the creation comes about from subtle to gross. The subtlest element, earth, is created first, and how they relate, the different elements relate to the different senses. The finest element is ether, and in ether there's only one sense object. What is the sense object in ether? Sound, yes. So sound is with the ear. We use our ear to perceive the sound. And then after ether, next element is air. And with air, there is sound, but there is also touch. Yes, you can feel the air, right? The cold air, warm air, the touch of the air. And how do you perceive touch? With the skin, right? The skin perceives touch. And then after air comes fire. And with fire, there is form. There's a form. And form is perceived by the eyes. And then from fire comes water. And with water there is taste, as well as all the other ones, as well all the previous elements are there. And so with water, taste, and taste is from the tongue. And then earth. The final one is earth, which is the smell, the aroma. I am the original fragrance of the earth. There was one incense brand of incense, earth sense. Earth sense. It's come from the earth. Everything comes from the earth. So you can see very systematic. Where else will you find such a systematic presentation of creation? It's only in the Vedic literature that we get this very clear and systematic presentation of how the creation comes about. So the primary creation is done by Lord Vishnu, and then secondary creation is taken up by Lord Brahma. He's the engineer. The engineers, they take the parts and put them together, make things like televisions and computers and so on. Motor cars. You can buy parts, make your own motor car. We make our own Rath Yatra chariots, right? We buy the parts, get an axle from somewhere, and put a body on it. Okay, any questions, comments? Yes?
When we read, and sometimes if there are no proper audience, can we also write our realizations with that also?
Oh, very good. To write. Writing is also, that's a very good thing to do. Yes, Prabhupada encouraged. He said, we should regularly write. He said, don't expect to get it published, but write. Write. It's a very good practice to have, to write your realizations. Prabhupada liked us to do that. So writing, yeah. Writing. It's also, you have to think about, just like talking, you have to think what to say. So writing also, you have to think. Present your ideas. Present your understandings. Nowadays, of course, people write, they have a blog, or they have a website, and you can put everything there, you don't have to print it all, you can just stick it on the internet and share it with others. So that's very nice. Are you writing?
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm. And you can write for Back to Godhead. They always need articles. They may not publish, but no harm to write. Oh, they're very particular what they publish, You can write so many things. But they have a very clear standards, what they want, what they're going to publish. But it's nice, you know, to write. And you can send it to them, they'll give you feedback. They'll tell you why they don't like it, you know. They have a board of editors. But it's good. It's a good practice, writing. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Holiness Bhakti Vighna Vinasa Swami.
Jai.
Okay. Where's it from? Really?
I'm not sure if you got it already. But I think that was started.
Where did you get the flowers?
I made it at clean bucket.
Oh my goodness.
The devotee who's cooking lunch today, she's making her sandwich.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Ja, automatisch.
Wenn Sie zum Beispiel zum Beispiel
Ich weiß nicht.
zum Beispiel machen.
Sie müssen es dann bringen und den geht auch noch an. Dabei, die logisch. Ja, aber wir sind eben knapp mit Blutschreiben. Musst du mal schauen, ein paar schreibt doch jede Woche, den haben wir noch niemand.
Das hat ja nichts mit dem zu tun. Irgendetwas geht immer auf dich.
Ja,
Irland, das
selbst schon. Aber uns wäre der Punkt, wenn sie gar kennen, das kann auch das zweite Mal.
das sind dann keine Runners.
Nein, ja. Dann kommt er wieder, ja, stimmt, ja.
Und
das ist ein
es gibt auch Devotees, die sich nicht leisten können, zum Tempel zu
Und den Kehl haben wir drin. Ja, die haben mitgegeben.
Also ich weiß, dass
Ich weiß einfach nicht praktisch.
ich weiß, dass es gemacht ist mit Pujaris. Ich meine, das ist etwas, wo überhaupt nicht mit der Pujari eigentlich mit der Pujari Community, wo es sehr schwieriger macht für Pujaris.
Nein, schwieriger wird es nicht, das stimmt. Aber es ersetzt, es hilft der Pujari oder das nichts. Also sie haben nicht weniger und nicht mehr als dank dem, oder? Und die Frage ist natürlich noch, wer macht ihr Land und was für Umstände, was für Kleinigkeiten. Weißt du, ist die Brand aus der Heizung, da hätte ich nicht gegessen.
Ja.
Gut, das habe ich immer verpacken gelegt.
Also ich mag mich einfach erinnern, Bhakti Vighna Vinasa ist natürlich eine andere Situation, wenn sie so viel Pujaris, und die meisten kommen einmal in der Woche nach New Zealand.
Ja, so weit sind wir noch nicht.
Ja, aber es gibt auch Pujaris, die einen tun. Aber dann hat es viele Devotees, das haben sie erst angefangen mit Börse, die hat ein Devotee da angefangen, mehr Leute in der Congregation so zu involvieren, mit Earrings machen, mit Jewelry sortieren und so.
Aber sie haben mir jetzt irgendwie rausgegeben, oder?
Ja.
Und die ganze Kongregation irgendwie
Hat sich
mobilisiert,
niemand
dass sie mal einige haben sich schon gemacht. Weißt du, uns will helfen, wenn du bereit bist, regelmäßig etwas.
Ist klar.
Das andere, einmal da, einmal da. Es gibt so viel Zeit für dich zum Organisieren, oder?
Und
Und
dann ist in dem
ist
Brief gestanden, was es alles für Sevas gibt. Also wenn du
ja,
schreibst, ja, willst du mit.
nein, es
Nein,
ist gestanden, dass man das Zweifigkeit, die Berechtigkeit und für einfach Devotees-Möglichkeiten gibt es das Beitragen, das ist schon gestanden. Und sie haben zum Teil das schon gemacht, ja. Hier kommt jetzt einer und sagt, sie würde gerne abschneiden. Aber das ist auch für mich eine Frage, wie setzt jetzt die Frau ein? Da kommt sie einmal, kommt sie zweimal im Monat, kommt sie alle Wochen. Das sind lauter Sachen, das muss sie ja wissen, sonst ist mir eigentlich gar keine Hilfe.
Ja, zum einen, das ist das eine, aber unser Seva ist eigentlich andere Leute zu engagieren. Auch wenn es nicht uns nicht
Ja, aber wenn du so knapp bist, dann sind es schon Leute, die das abnehmen, nicht wo die gleiche Arbeit gehen, dann machen und einfach andere. Zum Beispiel im Garten, oder? Bis sie ihnen alles erklärt und zeigt, wo und so.
Ich habe auch schon helfen in der Küche beim Kochen. Und
das
und es ist länger gegangen.
Ja, das
als
jedes
selber kochen.
Wochenende, jedes Sonntag habe ich dann
Es ist
jetzt so
länger-
einen Umstand, oder?
es ist länger gegangen, als wenn ich selber
Ja,
koche.
klar.
Aber
Also wenn anfangen.
aber ich mache das gerne, weil das bringt. Mir geht es nicht darum, dass es einfach gemacht ist. Das ist eben das Problem. Also der Adrian ist schon einmal helfen in der Küche und er hat nicht in der Küche gesagt, nein, no, I don't want to go in the kitchen. Weil er ist schon ziemlich langsam. Und dann habe ich gesagt, wenn ich weiss, was ich von dir kann erwarten kann, dann bin ich nicht gestresst. So. Wenn ich weiss, dass ich nicht von dir abhängig sein kann, dass okay, bis dann das ist, dann ist das perfekt, ist okay für mich. Aber wenn die Devotees nicht versehen können, weil sie meinen, oh, dann muss ich die Leistung machen, dann mache ich besser gar nicht. So, dann machen wir etwas falsch.
Ja, das stimmt alles.
Ja, es ist mir jetzt einfach in den Sinn gekommen, Maharaj das gesagt hat mit den Blumen. Und dann hat es damals auch gesagt, wir haben jetzt die Blumen. Das ist natürlich
die Orangenblumen sind jetzt zum Garten. Zeit hat jetzt so viel kaputt gemacht. Und wir brauchen das für Krishna. Kein Ausgeht ist fantastisch und sie heben alle auf. Probieren wir da selber eine Probe zu suchen, wo wir da Wasser haben. Das geht gar nicht. Aber die haben so viel Chemie gehabt, oder? Und die Leute arbeiten unter so miserablen Bedingungen, oder? Und werden krank und können nicht schlagen. Das ist uns alles egal.
Aber die können sie nicht aus der Schweiz.
Und hat sie nicht die Schweiz Blumen umsetzen? Wir haben ja eine ganz solche Burgen. Woher denn?
Wie werden das probieren?
Ja, die Rosen können sie meistens Afrika. Zum Beispiel. So, und Rosen ist jetzt okay. Die woher sind denn die Blumen wachsen? Gehen wir in die Natur und schauen, was die Gärtnerei und so.
Von dem her ist es so Sachen. Von dem her sind so Wasserpflanzen besser.
Also du meinst Stopfpflanzen? Ich weiß nicht, im Schaffelbedingungen jetzt auch nicht erzogen werden, das weiß ich nicht.
Ja, aber die eben länger.
Ja, die haben Orchidee 3 Monate, 4 Monate, zum Teil ein halbes Jahr.
Oder dunkel,
Ja, am Tag. In Vinava machen sie das, oder? Wir hatten Radhaman, da hat es Millionen von Blumen, die aufgezogen sind. Unglaublich. Und die müssen jeden Tag setzen, weil die meisten so die Jasmin, oder? Die werden grün am Tag. In der Wärme so. Und dann, die macht die ganze Welt alles voll.
Jetzt dann?
Ja, aber das kommt drauf an. Ich komme jeden Tag Bilder über von Radhaman oder von Bhakti Faszinierend. Und die schmecken dann auch, noch dazu.
Ja. Und wir meinen, die Schweiz ist so ein ambulantes Land. Es gibt ja keine Blumen. Und Bhakti Vighna haben sie so ein Dreifuß, also so ein Tunnel. Zwei so Tunnel gemacht, nur für Blumen.
Ja,
Also,
denkst du
so
mal,
10
die
Meter
Schweiz,
lang. Dort machen sie
Blumen
ganz
sich
viel.
in dem Klima bestimmt. Ja.
Also wahrscheinlich gibt es schon Weizenländer, die es nicht hat, aber die haben natürlich auch viele Blumen.
Aber wenn du im Winter willst, musst du es aber heizen.
Nein, sie haben nicht im Winter, weiß nicht, was sie machen. Aber das grösste Teil vom Jahr ist jetzt Sonne. Weißt du, was wir nachher machen?
Ja?
Blumen trocknen und nachher trocknen die Blumen.
Then back.
Gut.